the $1 Million Mortgage Experience podcast. All right, welcome to this episode. We're here with Eric Iantorno. He is a highly regarded and award-winning realtor specializing in luxury homes here in San Diego. He's recognized as the #1 individual agent at Pacific Sotheby's, annually ranks in as San Diego's top 3 individual agents by sales volume, and he has closed some of the highest price sales ever recorded in San Diego, right?
That is true, yes.
I mean, thanks for joining us.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so I'm super excited because, as our listeners know, we love big loans. We love luxury real estate. I mean, obviously we do everything from 300,000 all the way up to 10 million. So whenever I get to talk to an agent that's, closed stuff over 10 million, it just gets me stoked. So thanks for showing up and giving us some of your time.
Absolutely. Can't wait to catch up with you.
Yeah. So let's talk about how you got into luxury real estate. And of course, every agent would rather sell a $10 million house than a $300,000 house, right? I mean, you're paid on commissions, so same kind of work, maybe a little more work on the higher end stuff. But how'd you get into it?
I actually got into it by way of loans.
Okay.
I started out in the loan business out of college and kind of transitioned into real estate. And my first transactions were actually short sales. Okay. Right? It was that time. In like 08, 09, yep, yeah. 08, 09, and I started doing some short sales, and I quickly realized that's not where my passion lied. Yep. That's not where I was going to be able to build something that I could rely on and enjoy doing long term. And I knew that selling luxury homes was something that I was passionate about and something I enjoyed doing. So I decided to join the best local luxury brokerage in Rancho Santa Fe. And I joined a strong team, and I just started cutting my teeth that way.
Nice. You said, I'm going to just go for it.
Absolutely.
That's cool. What is the highest sale you've ever sold?
The highest sale is $24.9 million. I closed it just about a year ago. It was on the beach in Del Mar. Nice. And interestingly enough, this home sold in framing. The buyer is probably putting another, 8 to 10 million into it just to finish it. Wow. So I sold a shell for $24.9 million, which is the second highest home sale in San Diego history. Wow. There's only one home that sold for more. Probably Bill Gates. Did sell twice. He's correct. That's the home. But besides that home, the one I sold last year is the second highest home sale.
Okay. And was it kind of close proximity to Bill's?
It was about 5 doors down.
Interesting.
So pretty close.
So I think I might know who bought it because that person called me asking me about it and asked me about some financing on it too. Yes. And so we won't say their name, but after we talk, we'll talk
definitely can chat about it more.
So you got into it that way, but tell us what is it like selling a $25 million house? I mean, it's got to be different than selling a $300,000, or is it similar?
I mean, there's similarities, and then there's major differences in terms of how you handle the client, the complexity of the transactions. They aren't just simple and straightforward. There's a lot involved with, on the beach, you have tides, you have coastal commission, you have city regulations, you have things you can and can't do that are abnormal in other locations. So it becomes exponentially more complex, but equally, or if not more rewarding at the end of the day.
That's cool. So is it, I mean, obviously the checks are rewarding, the commissions, that part is amazing. In San Diego, have you seen like an influx of people that are moving here, like relocation?
Yeah, we definitely have. I would say right around 40% of the buyers that I see are coming from outside of San Diego. They're moving here from areas like San Francisco and LA at the moment. California is a popular location where people are moving from to San Diego. I believe it's because they're already paying the taxes. They're already comfortable in the state. The people that live out of state and are buying here are mainly buying as a second home because they're living in tax haven states like Texas.
Right. So they have a primary in Texas, but they're like, I just love San Diego.
Right.
And I'm going to go spend 5.5 months or more
That's
there.
Correct.
And then go back, in the nicer weather times in Texas, which are not summer and not winter.
Correct.
The fall's beautiful in places like Nashville, and
really is.
But the summers are brutal, So I could see for sure having a summer home here, and then having your spring and fall homes in the less desirable places. But you still have to live there 6 months, a little over 6 months in order to keep the tax haven thing, right?
Right.
So what's it like working with super high end stuff? I know there's the benefits of they have an accountant, right? And they always have like an assistant or something, and so they a lot of the stuff is easier to get done, but like at the same time, they're quirky, they're different. Like, tell us, do you have any stories?
That's good. Having help or staff can be a benefit. It can be a detriment.
Sure.
To the transaction.
Because they don't know what's going on.
Sometimes the staff gets things done and makes things easy, and other times relaying important information in a certain way becomes crucial to the success of the transaction. And not being able to directly communicate with the client can hinder the success.
Yeah.
And so I do find it challenging at times. I would say the majority of my clients still want to speak with me directly.
Yeah.
Very few use a third-party intermediary for the important communications. They want to be involved. It's a lot of money. But they have these people help just facilitate the basics of the transaction, which simplifies the process a little bit.
That's cool, yeah.
Yeah.
I've done a few loans for celebrities. Speaking of, one gave me this, but I won't name who they are, but they didn't talk to me. I was a little bit bummed. I had got them to sign and give me this through the their agent, but not the real estate agent, but their manager.
Yeah.
But sometimes you don't get to talk to them, right? It's like they're just busy doing whatever they're doing. They're on set, or they're overseas on set, and but do you have any stories about some funny experiences with selling a home or buying a home for somebody that you don't have to name, no names, right?
So there is a celebrity. The agent told me, "Hey, I'm going to bring this celebrity." I was like, "Oh wow, this is a major, big time celebrity."
Yeah.
And if you could please just keep it quiet. Like, this celebrity doesn't want people to know they're out looking for properties. I said, absolutely. Like, I'm going to be super confidential here. I'm not going to tell anyone. So
you have to sign an NDA.
They didn't ask me to, but like, I knew I just needed to respect this agent.
Right.
And this celebrity. So I went to the house and I prepped it all. And out in front were two strangers. And they were standing out on the corner right where this
paparazzi strangers,
basically like right where the celebrity was going to have to walk to come to the front door of the house.
Wow.
They're like basically like blocking the sidewalk. And so I was like, oh, this is bad. Well, I went in and I got the home all set up, and I went outside and they were still there.
Uh-oh.
And I said, I was like, this is bad. So I walked up to this couple. I said, excuse me, I have a really, really important showing here. Mm-hmm. And if you wouldn't mind just clearing the front walkway, I would really, really appreciate it.
What'd they say?
He said, I am your showing. And I said, no, sir, I don't think you're my showing. Like, I know who my showing is. Famous celebrity. That's not you. He goes, I'm the celebrity's friend. I'm the buyer. And I was like, you are? And he's like, yes. I was like, come in. So I bring this like person in off the street. I wasn't expecting it. It was like a twist. Mm-hmm. Like 1 second later, the celebrity comes in the door. They start talking. The celebrity basically sells his friend the house. I do nothing. The celebrity sells him the house. And he's like, all right, where do I sign? And I did the deal.
Cash buyer?
Basically a cash buyer, yes. Jeez. So I kicked the buyer off the property before the showing. Fortunately, I still made the sale, and I'm friends with the celebrity and this buyer today, but it was quite an experience.
That is funny. Yeah. Well, hopefully this...
Please leave.
Yeah, you need to get out here. You're not cool enough. But, it's funny because that actually, you think the celebrity would be appreciative, maybe, right? Like, that you had, wanted to take care of them and you wanted to keep it cool and all
Absolutely.
That. So I don't know if you had to explain that to him or not. Did you?
I did after.
You're like, I didn't mean any offense.
I kicked your friend off the property. Like, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
All right, we're trying some of this reposado.
Ooh, that sounds good. I'm a big fan of sipping tequila.
Me too.
Yeah, I'm not like shots are out. It's all about sipping and
slow,
enjoying
right?
Yeah,
it's like the Despacito, right?
Absolutely. Take your time.
And I think what's funny is that we kind of connected because we have a mutual friend, Eric Skolberg, who's a phenomenal painter.
Yeah, we do.
And I saw, I think on his Instagram, I think he posted about you getting this really cool painting and had a tequila feature. Do you want to tell us about that real quick?
I do. Skolberg's like incredibly talented, and he does this like mixed media art, which I think is like next level.
Yep.
And this piece in particular had a photo on it, and mounted to this art is a tequila dispenser. So you actually can put a bottle in this piece of art or on it, and then there's a tap at the bottom,
like a
and
lever.
you can pour tequila for your friends
right out of the art piece.
That's as good as it gets, as far as I'm concerned.
I need one right here.
You do.
Yes. Come right out of the M right here.
That would be amazing.
That'd be amazing.
Let's call him.
Yeah, I should. Yeah, those aren't cheap though. He used to be less expensive, but man, he has just. So if you're a luxury buyer and you want some good art, you need to call Eric Skolberg.
His values are going up, and they're holding, and more people are buying his art every day. Celebrities, it's really incredible. I'm so happy for him.
So on the art piece, is there a it's like a legend person, right? Was it a Bandito or who?
It is a Bandito. Yeah,
but it wasn't like a certain.
No, it's Don. I can't remember who it is now. I'm blanking.
Yeah, it started with Don. I'm sure. Yeah.
It was like a Don Julio.
Don Julio. Okay. Man, so do you being in this business, you have probably ancillary things that happen, right? There's, you do events, right? You do like your showings are probably not like your typical showing, right?
They're not.
Some people that have like say they want to list a $20 million house, they're not going to just say anyone come over on a Sunday, right? It's not this open house thing. You probably have like broker opens where it's like select brokers come and they see and tell us a little bit about that difference, like between.
Well, we definitely tend to we want to make our properties available for all agents, because I respect every agent in this business, and I know that any one of them could bring me a buyer at any time.
Right.
I sold a home for $22 million in Del Mar a few years ago. Mm-hmm. It was the first sale over $20 million in San Diego in like 11 years. So it was like a big deal. The agent that brought the buyer had never sold a home over $1 million.
Wow.
Okay. He met the buyer playing basketball.
Okay.
The buyer crushed it on his company, and this agent sold him a $22 million home and got paid it was a 3% commission, $660,000. Okay. I was so happy for that agent. Mm-hmm. And it made me realize like anyone can bring a buyer for any property. So you have to respect all agents at all times.
Yeah.
So I really try to be inclusive as much as possible. But then we also might do some kind of event where we really are trying to draw just maybe the top 10 or top 20 agents to the property to make sure they get their eye on it. A lot of times when we're open to the public, or open to brokers, I should say, those agents are also hosting homes open to the brokers, so they can't necessarily come to mine. So we just try to create an experience where they can come in off hours and see the property.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And then you probably have to put out some cash, like in marketing and stuff like that, right? I mean, it's not like, I think some people don't realize that agents have to take some risks when it comes to selling a home.
We take big risks.
Like you're putting out, what's like a budget for, say, like a $20 million house that you have to put in marketing?
I would say $100,000.
Really? Of your own capital?
Yeah, over, let's say, 6 to 12 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't sell and your listing expires, poof.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's horrible.
Let's hope that doesn't happen, right? And it happens sometimes.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it happens every now and then.
But what I find is at the end of the year, when I look at how much I spent as a whole and how much I made as a whole,
right,
it seems to work out.
Yeah.
But if I focus on the individual deal and how much I'm getting on this or that, it's a horrible experience.
Yeah.
You really have to just like do what you can and look at it at the end of the year, because you win some and you lose some. Some deals take 2 years and you get hammered on commissions and you put all this money into marketing and it just doesn't pay off. And other deals sell in the first week and the buyer comes direct and you're doing both sides and you're getting rewarded handsomely. So I kind of call it the law of average.
Yeah, that's smart.
It all evens out.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you got to, what do they say, pay to play? It takes money to make money, so.
That's the hardest part about getting started is spending the money that it really takes to build a brand, which, by the way, in real estate, I always tell people it's a 10-year runway.
Yeah.
It takes a long time to take off in this business. So you got to, you're doing deals faster than 10 years, but it takes 10 years before you're a known commodity in the neighborhood and people are calling you consistently.
Right.
So that's a lot of output financially to get to that point.
Yeah.
And it doesn't ever really slow down. The output just keeps going.
So what do you think it takes to I mean, obviously it's 10 years. They talk about 10,000 hours, right?
Yes.
To do anything, to be good at something.
Yeah.
But like 10 years, what is, and I know you do a lot of social media, you do a lot of, you market a lot. Was there a time when you're just like you're early on in your career when you're just like, gosh, is this ever going to hit? Is this ever going to pop?
Absolutely.
You're just waiting,
when I was working in Rancho Santa Fe with that first team, I was with them for 5 years and I would just wonder every day, I'm like, when's it going to be how do I get there faster? Yeah. I'd ask my mentor, like, what do I need to do to get there faster? He goes, it just takes time. Yeah. And that was the reality of it. I was grinding, but you just got to do it over time. And those during the grind, you get little wins. So it's not like nothing happens. Like, you're going to have successes and you're going to start building your business, but being consistent with the grind, being consistent with marketing and advertising, those are things that have helped me excel and kind of come to the top of the pack. Yeah. Anything that stands out that was like a pivotal moment? Yeah. So I think for me, the biggest key is you are what you say you are. Okay. So if you're a loan officer and you want to do FHA loans all day and you start telling people that you're an FHA specialist, guess what? That's the calls you're going to get. Those are the people that are going to find you. You can market yourself as that and you can build a great business with FHA. Right. If you want to do jumbo loans, then you need to say that's what you do. That is your best product. Find the best jumbo loan product and sell it. Tell people that that's the business you do. When you do your Instagram and your social media, everything is about luxury real estate, jumbo mortgage rates. So it's really important to start by letting people know who you are and then kind of building off of that. I think it goes beyond just, the fact that you say it on Instagram, but I think there's something, we might get a little out there right now, but like, say it into the universe, just say it into the existence, right? It's like, it's like when you say you are what you say, it's similar to like you are who you hang out with, right? That's your top, right. The 5 people that you're with, the 5 top people that you spend the most time with is kind of how you become, and you influence them obviously, but then they influence you. And, if you're saying that to yourself, I mean, there's a reason why Tony Robbins is so successful, because he believes this stuff and it happens. Right. And a lot of people that follow him do the same thing and it happens. And I'm not here to promote him or anything like that, but if he is listening, he should be on the podcast. But like, I think, things that I've learned in my career, I'm turning 50 in a couple of days, but like in my old age, I've learned to, you have to say things into existence as well. And like, to your point of saying that I'm a jumbo specialist, on your Instagram and telling people about it. But even if you just tell yourself that, right. And you will become that. That's right. Over time. It just takes time, and you just have to put it out there and believe it, right? You got to believe it. Right. You can't just say it and not believe it. I really believe that you can literally manifest things to happen. I do too. Okay. Yeah. And you have to visualize, you have to write it down, and you have to know that you can do it. And then the things start happening.
And the part of like knowing the part that knowing you can do it is just like just saying someone else that looks like me or is the similar type of person as me has done it.
Yep.
If they can do it, why can't I do it? Right? Like you have to know that about yourself.
Or
right?
that goofball.
Yeah.
If that goofball can do it, how could I not?
Yes. How could I not do it?
How could I not?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, like there's a perfect example of a guy, and I can't remember his name because I'm not a huge sports guy, but who was like 5'7" or 8" and made the NBA, right? Like he could have believed all his life that he couldn't have made it. And he, was it Bugsy?
Muggsy Bogues.
Muggsy, yeah. So there's an example, right? Like someone like that just could have just been like, I'll never make it in basketball. I'm not tall enough, right?
Right.
But no, he believed it and he just worked hard and outworked probably most everyone else that was his height.
Yeah.
You know, so keep going. I
think outworking people is important, especially when you're getting started and you're trying to build. I really made sure I'm like, you know what, I'm going to be the person that opens up this office every morning. Yeah. And I'm going to be the person that closes it.
That's huge.
And I did that for probably 3 years when I joined Sotheby's. I really felt like I had an opportunity with Sotheby's. I wanted to take advantage of the opportunity. And I felt like outworking everyone that was there was a key to making that happen for me. And it did work. Mm-hmm. It did work.
That's cool. Yeah, I believe that. I mean, it's funny too. The longer you're sticking with something, the easier things just sort of like start happening, right? Too. Right. I mean, and that's why I was kind of asking is like, was there a moment when it just sort of like tipped over for you where you're like, oh, this is, just started like things started coming in and all this work that you'd done, you said there was little wins along the way, but like, was there a moment when you're like, whoa, like all this stuff is starting to pay off. Like
there was.
Tell us about it.
Absolutely. There was a moment. And there was a time where I said, if just one time in the history of ever, can someone that I don't know call me and say, I want you to list my home, I will feel like I've made it in real estate.
Yeah.
Okay. And it happened. It was when I joined Sotheby's and I was probably in my second or third year, and I started getting phone calls. And the first one that came in was like, my mind was blown. I'm like, I've been manifesting this for 5 years.
Wow.
Okay. And I got the listing and it was on like a $12 million home and I sold it. And it was a really awesome experience. But from that point on, I started noticing more calls started coming in from people that I didn't know. And that was kind of the moment where I'm like, okay, I'm finally rolling now. Like people are paying attention to what I'm doing. The advertising and the marketing is working. Yep. And I just need to keep that going. And so there definitely was a moment.
That's cool. Let's talk about excellence and how like, it's kind of like to whom much has been given, much is required kind of idea. So like when you are listing and you're dealing with high-end clients, there's got to be a level of expectation that is a little bit above kind of your average person, right? Yeah. So, typically like when someone's paying a lot for something, they expect, something to be really good, right? You go to a nice restaurant, you get a nice bottle of wine, whatever it is, if it's, you expect it to be great.
Yep.
You don't expect it to be, average or whatever. So talk about that and how that's, different in the real estate industry.
When it comes to selling the super luxury real estate, I learned early that these are people that are accustomed to different things. Yeah. It's a different lifestyle, and they receive excellence everywhere they go.
Yep.
At the best hotels, at their country clubs,
right?
When they're shopping, at their stores, whatever it is, that customer experience is beyond what normal people are used to.
Yep.
And I realized like if I was going to be able to succeed, I was going to have to deliver a similar type of experience in real estate. And so I really made sure that everything I did was as high end as I could do it.
Like above and beyond. And
above and beyond. Yeah. I pay, quadruple the going rate for my photographer. But I truly believe he is the best photographer in San Diego. He touches every image. He pays attention to the details.
Yep.
He takes shadows out of the photos to make them look as clean as possible. Like things like that other photographers just don't do when they're batch editing photos. So you could pay a fraction of the price and get okay photos,
right.
or you can just pay a lot more and get cutting edge photos.
Right.
And the same thing with video production. Everything with advertising I do is going to be to the highest possible degree I can do it at the best quality. And then we've created a customer service experience within my team, with my assistants, and I just make sure that we're delivering results. We quantify what they're going to get ahead of time, and then we deliver in kind of like a country club manner where we're serving it to them to where they're like, I really like how this is being served to me.
That's cool.
And that's the goal.
Yeah. So when you started out in the business, did you start with, like, were you under like a mentor?
I was.
And how, like, have you mentored anyone since then? Like,
yes.
You kind of pay it forward in that way?
I sure have.
And what do you think the value is of someone who's trying to decide, like, should I just go at it alone, or should I just maybe I should go work with someone who does, I know they do a ton of super jumbo business. Maybe I can go offer to work for, like, what's the benefit of that versus just sort of going lone survivor, like Lone Ranger style?
Yeah, no, I personally think it's important to associate. I started out as an independent agent for a local broker, and that's when I was doing my short sales and just scraping away business however I could.
Right.
And then I decided I wanted to get into luxury, and I knew I needed to associate with someone that had success in luxury. I did that. It worked well for me to get started. And then I noticed an opportunity with Sotheby's International Realty, which is a true luxury real estate brand and a global luxury brand for other things as well. And I associated with them. And to me, that was the best decision I ever made in my career, and one that helped catapult me to new levels. That association really makes a difference, and people gravitate towards that association.
Plus, isn't it like internationally recognized? So you've got buyers, and especially if you're dealing with a super high end, you're going to have foreign buyers, right? You're going to have people that, so then instead of just, having a regional touch or reach, you have now this massive global reach, right?
You have a huge reach.
Yeah.
And I can't even tell you how many people have come to me and said, hey, I've used Sotheby's in Miami to sell my home. I had a great experience, and I'd like you to help me here.
It's cool.
I was like, oh, wow. Just my company association just got me a deal. Of course, I'm paying, I'm doing marketing and doing all the things that I need to be doing so that they could find me.
Yeah.
But they associated me with an incredible transaction they had in another state. And they want me, and that's because of my brand. So I think branding is important, and to associate is important.
Yeah. So, we just talked earlier before we turn on the microphones and the cameras about kind of how it's picking up more. It's like we're getting some more traction, right, on some deals, and more people are there's some more activity, right? Let's talk about kind of, what do you do when there is no activity? Like, is there
cry,
drink tequila, right?
Yeah, cry.
a lot of tears have happened in the last year or so. But like, you don't, obviously, I don't think you buy internet leads necessarily, or do you? Not. Okay, so if you're trying to drum up business and there's no business,
what do you do?
Yeah, what do you do?
I find that the challenging moments are where I grow the most.
Yeah. And
so I really try to turn a moment that appears to be not so great into greatness.
That's cool.
And I think that that's important to be able to, one, recognize the moment, and then figure out how to leverage that moment to find your greatest potential.
That's cool.
And so that's what I tend to do. I really button down on everything I'm doing. I tighten the ship. I reevaluate the marketing. I reevaluate what I'm saying. What is my messaging? And how am I presenting? And is this messaging current? And is it being effective?
Yeah.
And then I start doing things that worked in the past, like picking up the phone, Maybe it's door knocking. Maybe it's sending an extra mailer out to my clients, giving them a little information or context that might get them to think about real estate. So I think it's just about pivoting really into something else.
So where does the most of your, majority of your business come from, would you say?
Today, the majority of my business comes from, I'd say it's pretty balanced between my referral network, which are a lot of real estate agents from outside of San Diego.
Interesting.
I get a tremendous amount of referrals from people that are moving here, from agents that I've met over the years.
So it's something you've built over time. Like, it's not just a random call, kind of like you were saying earlier, but being part of Sotheby's kind of helps, I'm sure, because a lot of rich people own homes in different places, right?
Yes.
Do you ever get in with certain country clubs to maybe try to get referrals, or?
So I don't really dig, I'm members at clubs and I meet people at clubs, and that could potentially turn into business. I think it's more like, do they like me and do I like them, and do we have a good experience together? So if that happens, then a lot of times it ends up being more business. But in general, I'm not hitting up clubs to hey, get me deals. But I think it's referrals from other agents. It's people that are seeing my advertising, and it's people that are in the communities that I'm selling in who have noticed my sign here, my sign there.
And then it says sold.
Sale.
And they're like, oh, this guy's selling
and they're
houses.
You know what? We want to sell this home. You're one of the top agents in this neighborhood, and we'd like to interview you.
That's cool.
So it's a combination. I think one thing that's really, really important is to have as many hooks in the water as you can.
Yep.
Okay? If you want to catch fish,
you
can't have one hook in the water.
I mean, you can, but the odds are real low.
Very low.
Yeah.
What if you had 500?
That's 500 times better.
Absolutely.
Right?
And so the more you can do, the more chances you're going to have of catching someone's eye that you don't know, who's going to call you and tell you for the first time in your life, I want to use you.
That's cool.
And so
is that, give us some example. Is that is that social media? Is that TV ads? Is that print? What would you think could be name some 5 of the hooks? What do you do?
I think social media obviously is a giant one.
Facebook?
Well, I think
Instagram?
For me, Facebook and Instagram.
Yep.
I do play in TikTok. I find the audience is younger.
Yep.
And so I don't reach necessarily the right demographic for $10 million homes.
Sure.
But I'll tell you what, Facebook for $10 million homes, my mom's on it, and so are all of her friends.
Right.
They never went to Instagram or TikTok.
They never moved.
They love Facebook.
Yeah.
They still have AOL email addresses, okay? So if you want to get AOL email addresses, you go to Facebook, okay?
That's
so
cool.
that you have to kind of know where your audience is. But yes, social media is a platform that you must be on and you must be hitting hard. I also run paid advertisements on Google, so I reach people that are looking for real estate on Google, on YouTube, different platforms like that. We have print. We're in print magazines. We're in print newspapers. We're in the Business Journal. We're sending print direct to people's doors. Yep. So there's a lot of different print things happening.
You have a lot of hooks. Yeah.
Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, the LA Times. So hooks out of San Diego, hooks in San Diego. And then reaching out through mail or email blasts to agents, hitting top agents in different communities where people are moving to San Diego from. So door knocking, hosting events in your neighborhood. There's an unlimited array of things you can do to find people. Get to know CPAs, financial planners, mortgage brokers. Yeah. Hey, make the rounds, do lunches, get to know these people.
But it's so hard to go meet people.
It is.
I mean, it is. But that's what separates that's right. The good from the great, right?
Do coffees. It's quick and easy. It's a great way to intro. Yeah. If you like the person, invite them to do something else and try to build a relationship. By the way, it helps when your name's in the magazine and you have the highest sale, or you're starting to build that.
Sure.
Then that person can be like, oh, you should use this guy. And by the way, here's his portfolio.
Right.
And so you just start to build confidence amongst the person you're working.
So it's
you're
okay to
referred.
kind of brag about what you've done, right? It's okay to like say like, I've closed these, for mortgage broker, I've closed this $3 million loan. I closed this $4 million loan. I closed this $2 million loan. And just even if you've only closed one, you can just say you did it and then focus on that one, right? And then because then it'll just keep building and building.
That's
and then people will know you as the person that's closing these big loans, right?
I think so. And like in real estate, one of like the oldest bags in the book is sending out postcards like just listed, just sold.
Right.
Why? Why do people still do it? Because it works.
It works. Yeah.
People are paying attention to what just listed and just sold in their neighborhood. So if you just said new loan, $4 million, closed loan, $4 million, new loan, $6 million, closed loan, new loan, closed loan, like you're not going to close every new loan you get, but they all start blending together.
Right.
And you're just popping off loans. You're getting new loans, you're closing loans, and people are like, Jesus, this guy's crushing it. Right. I want to get a loan from. He must have the best rates in the business.
I've never even heard of this, but like if you went on Instagram and said, I just got a new application for a $5 million loan, great entrepreneur, we're going to crush this deal, we'll close it, and we're going to close it in 4 weeks, whatever.
Yeah.
And then 4 weeks later, you post again saying, I just closed this $5 million loan, had a couple challenges, but we got it done. Yay, right? And just like put a picture of Rocky or whatever, right? Something, it can be cheesy, but people will start noticing that you are the person that's closing.
Maybe a quote from your client just saying, hey, you did a great job. That was incredibly easy. Thank you so much. Like the last loan I did was a nightmare, and I just can't believe how smoothly this went with you.
Right.
And by the way, like your rate was like a half point under the best rate I could find. So like not only did you crush the loan, but you like totally stoked me out on the best rate I could have ever gotten. I mean,
and the power of social media is so crazy because it's so scalable, because you have no idea if someone might forward that in the middle of the night to their uncle or their cousin or their best friend that just sold their company. And they're like, oh, you should check this guy out. He just did a $5 million loan. I know you're having issues because you're with First Republic Bank and they're gone and you can't get a loan like that now. Right. So use this guy, It's the power of that scalability where you can just put it out there and it's like another hook, but it's a hook that could turn into like 20 hooks, right? Yep. Like that's the thing that I think a lot of people don't understand about social media is that it's just this, it's this really insane scalable tool and like, technology that's amazing.
Right. Another idea is like you put the loan amount and you put the rate and you're like 3.5%. Everyone's like, what the heck? 3.5%? The rates are 5% right now. You get like 10,000 phone calls. How are you getting a 3.5% rate for this person? Well, they're paying 2 points to buy it down. But interestingly enough, their realtor negotiated that 2 points into the transaction. The seller's actually paying the 2 points. So my client's getting 3.5% for free.
It's amazing. Yeah.
So I mean, you just like put little things out there that make people say,
yeah,
that's incredible. Like, I need to know more about this.
Like, how'd you do this?
How did you do this?
That's so good.
Yeah.
I'm sure with your face all over, like, marketing and, you get a little like kind of sort of like local famous, right? You've got to have some mortgage brokers or loan officers hitting you up. Like, tell our listeners what not to do. Like I'm sure you have some people you're like, God, please, God, I never want to have that happen again. That was the worst thing a mortgage broker could have done. Do you have any stories like that?
Don't walk into my office unannounced. Don't show up to my broker caravans while I'm trying to sell a home to agents to try to pitch your business to me. Those two things don't work.
No.
Okay.
And that's what most people try to do.
Yeah. And persistence does. And doing it in a manner where like I'm going to say yes eventually, I think is the best way. Mm-hmm. Because the more I know you, the more I'm going to be interested in potentially sending you a client. And yes, you have to know you're trying to break into my sphere.
Yep.
I've already got one.
Right.
So how do you become
at least one?
I've got at least one.
Yeah.
So how are you going to break into that and be in a situation where I want to think of you the next time?
Yeah.
And maybe I go every other.
Yeah.
Right? For now. And then all of a sudden, this guy isn't getting any loans done and you're getting all of them done. I'm like, why am I using this other guy? And then you just take it all over. So it takes time.
Right.
And I think figuring out who you're relatable with, who you get along with on more than just a straight business level, because there's a lot of loan officers, there's a lot of agents. So you want to work with someone you like, who maybe you have some similar interests with. That's figure out what, go on their Instagram, figure out what their interests are. If
they put it out there for free.
If you go on mine, you'll know exactly what I love to do.
Right.
Okay. And if you love to do any of those things, call and ask me to do that.
Right.
Or just take me to coffee, which is fast and easy, and start talking about those things.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I'm going to send you business because I like you. And I think that you can get it done at a rate where people are going to say yes. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, if I keep referring this one loan officer business and my clients keep saying like Wells Fargo was like 0.75 of a point better. Yeah. I don't know what to do. Right. They're going to go, even though Wells Fargo might be a nightmare compared to the bank that this broker's working with, for 0.75 of a point, you're going to deal with a nightmare.
Sure.
It's too much on the monthly payments right now. You save too much. So it's important to be competitive. Yep. Find your niche, be able to deliver the results, and then just work your way in with those people. Like what they're doing on social media.
Comment.
Comment on it. Repost their stuff and say, like, this guy's crushing it. I love what he's doing. And put it out to all your people. Like, you don't think I'm going to see that? I'm going to notice that you're liking my stuff and reposting and commenting. Like, that's great.
One of the funniest things it's one of my pet peeves that people say is, oh, I emailed them and they never responded. And you're like, okay, have you ever not responded to an email, or have you ever deleted an email on accident, or did it ever go to your spam? Like, people need to be, back to your point of being persistent. Yes. Like, at some point you could either say, like, if someone just keeps emailing you over and over and over again, at some point you might be like, hey, no, right? I got your message. I'm not interested, or you'll unsubscribe or you'll block them. Right. So like, you have to have this kind of attitude that like, I don't care if I'm annoying them. I don't care, but you got to be tactful and figure out what's the right approach, like you just said. But also, like, you can't just lob off a call or like send one email and be like, oh no, they didn't respond to me, so they don't want to talk to me.
I'll tell you what, if a mortgage broker called me and said, hey, I've been working with this client for a while, and I know that they're going to sell their home and that they're going to buy something else, and they've been asking me about rates and I want to refer them to you, you got my attention.
And you'll take that call right then.
I'm taking the call, and knowing that you're
or if they left you a voicemail, you would call them back, right?
Immediately. And you're probably going to get like my next deal or two.
Right.
Right? Like, I mean, that's like, you scratch my back, I'm going to scratch yours immediately.
That's how this business works. That's that's how life works, right? In so many ways.
Try the best you can to offer me something that I can offer to my clients. Yeah, and take care of me a little bit, and you're probably gonna get some business from me.
So true. Yeah, I've that's how I kind of broke back into getting agents when I got out of the business and back in. I launched a website called afterforeclosure.com, and I started getting all these people. It went on CNBC, and I got all these leads, and so I went and showed up at a Compass meeting, and I just spoke in front of all these agents, and I said, I've got about 300 buyers, and I'd love to find some agents to work with. And all the agents perked up. And I said, these people had foreclosures in the past, but they have a good, down payment and they're ready to go. And they're wanting to get back in the market, kind of boomerang buy, and if you guys don't have any issues with someone who foreclosed on their house, and you're okay with that, you kind of do a little takeaway, like, and they're like, no, I'll help you. And then, my phone rang off the hook. But I think you have to come up with some kind of plan, and not just come with like hat in hand trying to ask for something, but like add value to somebody like you, right? And I like how you said your sphere, because it is a sphere. It's almost like an armored sphere in a way, but there's always a chink in the armor where someone can get in if they just are smart and they're persistent. And they know how to kind of find that area to get in. Right. And if you believe in yourself and you know that you're destined to do those big loans, you're going to figure it out, right? You're going to do it. I mean, you didn't start out doing $20 million homes.
Nope.
Took you some time.
Took me some time.
Yeah.
In fact, my first transactions were $45,000 homes.
The short sales.
Yes.
Yeah.
Short sales.
And you're like,
45,000. I was like, I'll take them. Let's do them.
You kind of got kind of practiced on those and got worked out some kinks. And those were probably not easy deals.
They weren't. But I did cut my teeth. Yeah. And it was a nice education, even though I didn't make a ton of money. Like, it was totally worth it. Yeah. I strongly believe, like, do and take every deal you can.
Yep.
Like, you learn something from every transaction. It doesn't matter if it's a $45,000
second mortgage.
Yep, home, or second mortgage, or a $3 million loan, or whatever. Like, just take every deal. And I think that a lot of times these smaller deals turn into bigger ones.
Yep.
And you
especially if you do a good job and then you do with the next few steps right.
Right.
Keep going. Yeah.
I was gonna say, one of my big breakouts was with someone who called me and they said, "Hey, I want to sell a ranch, and I use Sotheby's in New York. Would you be interested?" I said, "In Rancho Santa Fe." And they said,
which ranch are you talking about?
He said, "No, Santa Isabel." And I was like, "Santa Isabel? Isn't that by Julian? That's like 2 hours away." He said, "Yes." And I said, "I'm not really sure I'm the right guy for that," which was a dumb thing to say in hindsight. Mm-hmm. He said, "Well, I've got about 20 million invested into this ranch." And I was like, "I'll be there tomorrow." Okay. And I did get the listing, and I did sell the ranch. And
how many acres was that?
Of work. It was 640 acres,
wow.
8 80-acre parcels. And we sold it probably for like, I don't know, 15, 16 million. It was an incredible experience. But about 3 months into working on this ranch, the seller told me, "Hey, you don't know this, but I'm building that giant home in Del Mar on the cliff right now, looking at La Jolla." I was like, "You mean my dream house?" He's like, "Yep." I go, "That's yours?" He said, "Yep." And he goes, "And I'm not moving in, and you're selling it."
Wow.
And I was like, and I broke a record in San Diego, set the highest sale, like I said, in 11 years, over 20 million. It like catapulted my career, all because I said yes to something that was a little out of my comfort zone. Yeah. That really didn't make sense for me, but I was going to do it anyway. Yeah. And it just turned into something so much bigger.
You know, I think like some people who are naturally optimistic, this stuff kind of sort of happens, right? You know, you're open to everything. You say yes to a lot more things than the no people, right? And so like, how does someone, you know, I'm sure you have your bad days and good days. I mean, not every day can be a great day, right? Because you're just human, and shitty things happen sometimes. But like, what do you do to keep positivity? Like, what's some of your secrets for that?
It can be challenging at times, but I think it goes back to something I said earlier about understanding that not everything's going to go according to plan, and not everything's going to be as financially rewarding at the end of the day. Each transaction's unique. Every experience is different. And so when things get difficult or hard, it's really trying to understand what is happening and kind of step back and realize, like, this is just the moment. Yeah. And this is the moment that defines us. Mm-hmm. And how are we going to become stronger? And how are we going to be better at what we do? Yeah. And those are the moments that elevate us to greatness. Yeah. And so I think it's really important to be able to understand that you have good and bads, and really be hypersensitive to both, and be able to kind of take a step back and look at it from like an outside perspective of what's happening at the moment.
Yeah. And I think not like thinking the worst is going to happen, but be like, you know, the silver lining. Well, like what could happen here? Like when you said the ranch thing, right? You're like, at first you kind of in your mind, you thought no, but you're like, well, let's find out more information. And, right. You have if you have an open mind, excuse me. If you have, bless you. If you have an open mind, you can potentially discover things that, you know, if you had a closed mind, like a stupid example, but like my family all think I have like this magical power to get parking spots. And so they call it the Johnny Golden spot. Like, and so it literally happens. And I think part of it is because, you know, I'll go to the front where I want the best spot.
Yeah.
And it's not always there, but some people might obviously like think, oh, I'm not going to go. There's not going to be a spot there, so I'm going to go over here, right? And then they just didn't even have that chance or the opportunity to get that spot where I'll go kind of slow and I'll try to look and see if anyone's getting in their car, and all of a sudden, oh, got one. It's like, so I think that by just going into things in life with thinking it's possible, like it is possible to get this front spot, and maybe it is possible to get this amazing listing, or it is possible to get this $7 million loan that I've been dreaming of having, and making that big commission. I think just having that kind of mindset is right. Like, is that kind of what you think too?
Yeah. It's everything's possible.
I thought you were going to say, you cold plunge every morning, and then that's the worst thing that you did all day, and then everything else gets better.
I do like cold plunge. It is hard to do.
It is hard. I know. What?
But it feels so good.
Do you have one you can set the temp?
I don't have one at home, but anytime I go somewhere where there is one, I always take the time to use it.
I remember hearing someone say it's the hardest thing I do every day, and then everything else is easier. If I can just mind over matter, get in that cold water, then the rest of the day would be great.
Right.
And it actually works.
It does.
I do it. I do it religiously now. Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
It's
I'm coming over.
It's cold.
What temp?
44
now.
Oh,
44?
44. I'm going down, and now my kids are doing it. So my daughter, she's 17. She did it the other day, and she goes, "Dad, I'm going to do this every day now." And she didn't do it the second day, but she's doing it again and now and more. And it totally changes your mood too.
Yeah, it does.
It's something I don't know what it is. Cold water sucks.
It's like an endorphin rush.
It is. It makes you buzz.
Yeah.
But I think it does suck to do hard things. But if you can train yourself to do hard things, then things other things are so easy, right?
True.
It's I did that hard thing, got it, and it feels good. I think it also feels like you're accomplishing something.
Yeah.
And, right, the first thing you do in the day is something hard, is tough. But
I think the consistency of it over time is the key too.
Yep.
You can do it over and over and over again.
Right.
It becomes less hard.
It does.
And more rewarding.
What are your thoughts on the current market today?
I think we have a really nice balance for the first time in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Inventory is still extremely low.
Yep.
There's still buyers. There's not as many buyers as we had, let's call it a year ago or 2 years ago, really at the height of COVID when things were really going quickly.
Low rates.
But low rates, but there's still plenty of buyers and there's very few things to buy. And that's created a great balance. As long as we continue to have tighter inventory, which I believe will continue, mainly due to the fact that so many people are positioned into their current properties at historic low rates.
Yeah.
I think I have a 30-year fixed at 2.5%.
That's free money.
It's not, I'm never moving.
Never. Or never selling.
I might, but yeah.
You might move, but you'll rent it out, or you'll just keep it.
I won't sell it.
And why would anyone ever pay that off? I mean, you probably have an amortized loan, but if you didn't have an amortized loan, why would you ever pay that off? I mean, obviously, if you have insane amounts of money, you wouldn't, right?
No,
or you would, but 2.5%.
I'd rather take the money and invest it at 8 or 10, or just put it in a bond at 5.5 and pay 2.5.
That's why I'm saying it's free money. Yeah. It's free money. Right. So when they did that, and when the Fed did that, and they dropped the rates down to that low historic, it just literally, I can't imagine anyone wanting to sell, and only if they have to, right? So do you deal with some sellers and sellers who are like, man, I got to sell this property and I got to give it my low rate.
There's very few sellers today that are in dire straits.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, it seems that people have more money than they've ever had.
Yeah.
At all levels. And they have the lowest payments they've ever had on their home. And so I don't find that there's desperation in our market. Mm-hmm. I find that there's sellers that want to sell for various reasons. Maybe it's time to downsize. Maybe they're growing. Maybe they just got married and now they're having kids, and they had a condo before and now they need a house with a yard for their 2 golden retrievers and their twins that are on the way.
Right.
You know, all sorts of things change in people's lives. They retire. They want to move to Florida. Their kids move to Florida, and now they're here by themselves, and all their grandkids are somewhere else and they miss them. So I find that people have various reasons, but very few are due to desperation. Like, I don't think any.
Yeah.
No one's desperate.
No. And
There's
so they're
no
just like,
sense of desperation in the market.
Like, if you don't want to pay my price, then I'll wait.
Yeah,
you know?
right.
I got time to wait.
Or like buyers or sellers will say to me, like, if I reduce my price, isn't that presenting a desperation? No, not today. Mm-mm. There was a moment where maybe a price reduction would be perceived by the buying market as that person's desperate. But today, no. Yeah. The buyers look at your price. They decide, is that in the price range that I'm willing to pay for a property like that? Mm-hmm. And if they say yes, they'll come.
Yep.
If they like it and they like the price, they'll make an offer.
Right.
If they feel that the price is too high, they'll hold off on offers. Mm-hmm. And they'll wait until there's a reduction. And then they'll say, ooh, now it's in my price range.
Sure.
Let's go.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So they don't think the seller's desperate. No. They're just now
there's a new house in my price range.
Now there's a price. Now it's in their range.
Yeah.
They're happy.
And are you seeing like a certain sweet spot today, like in a price range sweet spot?
I find that it's really important to be within 10% of where you're gonna sell to get offers. Mm-hmm. So if you're listed at $3 million, you're probably going to get a $2.7 million offer because buyers will write for 10% under, and then they'll come up about halfway and meet you in the middle.
Interesting.
So a $3 million list should get you around $2,850. Okay. A $5 million list, you're going to get a 4.5 offer. You're going to be at $4,750. So right now, 95% of ask is fairly normal, but you have to be within 10%.
Yep.
If you are a $2.85 million home and you're listed at $4 million, you're not getting any offers.
You're not getting offers, no.
Because no one's going to offer you 2.7, which is the number they need to offer you to pay $2,850 if you're at 4. Yep. They're just going to wait.
Yep.
So it's really important to be priced well, really to give yourself that 10% buffer so someone can come up and meet you in the middle.
You still seeing any kind of like letters to the seller? You know, my family is a family of 4 with their dog, you know.
I think it still happens all the time.
Yeah.
There was a moment where they were frowned upon. There's certain sellers or agents that feel like they don't want to bias their client, so they discard the letters. But in my opinion, letters are a nice way to kind of differentiate yourself, or just explain to the seller who you are and what your motivations are.
Right.
Because the sellers really want to know, like, this person's making an offer on my house. What's the deal?
Especially if they have, like, homes carry feelings, right?
They really do.
And so when you're selling a house, you're like, I don't want it to go to some, you know, something that's not like someone's going to tear it down and, you know, right? Like you put all this stuff into the kitchen or whatever and you have feelings. So
that's right.
Not that you should, but you do because you've lived there so long. But, you know, what about home flippers? Have you seen some of those still?
There are home flippers still out there.
But is it trending down or is it
it's trending down because the prices to acquire the home that they're going to flip are still high.
And there's just less inventory, right?
Right.
There's less fixer-uppers out there.
There's less options.
Right.
So, and then because there's so few options, a lot of end users are buying the fixers and doing the work themselves so that they can live there.
Yeah.
And an end user will pay a little bit more than a flipper.
Yeah.
Because they're not trying to build in
like a
$300,000 hit or a $500,000 hit. They want to own this house. They want to fix it up. They want to live there.
Right.
So they pay a little more.
True.
So flippers are notoriously pay on the lower side of the spectrum. Sometimes flippers offer time certainty. So like, I got the cash, I can close next week. I'm not going to do any inspections. And that's an enticing proposition for certain people. And they'll say, I'd rather take a little less money to have this certainty and no headache.
Sure.
I don't need an extra $100,000. So let's go with this person because I already know they're going to tear the home apart. And the person that wants to live there is going to try to make sure that there's no issues.
Right.
So flippers are still making deals. I just find it's harder. And it's harder for them to pencil. And then the exit is a little more challenging too because the market's not in a spot where it feels like prices are increasing month after month.
Yep.
I really believe they're not decreasing, but they're just kind of steady.
Sure.
And there might be even a hair of uncertainty in the market for certain people, right? And so with uncertainty, speculators get more nervous.
Yep.
And they don't want to take risk. Their goal is to take as little risk as possible. So I find that there's just less flipping at the moment.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
What about the future? What do you see? If you had a crystal ball, like what do you there's people that sit on the sidelines and they're like, I'm going to wait till it crashes. I think a lot of the millennial, group in that demographic, they heard, they kind of heard about the crash and then everyone kind of could buy at a low.
Yeah.
And I've just seen on TikTok and other Instagram and other social media places that, there's people that are saying there's a crash coming. And then, so you have all these people sitting on the sidelines, these buyers that, and maybe they can't really afford, so they need to get a super low down payment, or maybe they can. But do you think that there's even a possibility for that kind of thing where I know what I think, and I've talked about that on the podcast a bunch, but what do you think as far as future goes?
I don't think it's going to crash. I think we're seeing it.
Yeah.
And the new crash is just like an even steady market.
Right.
It just feels like we're not crashing, and mainly because the inventory situation we talked about. Yep. People are very secure where they're at. They have reserves. They have super low payments. And we're not going to see a glut of people with, call it 3-year AM mortgages that are all coming up. And now there's no
adjustables.
There's no adjustables.
Yeah. Or there's very little.
Appraisals aren't going to all of a sudden come in way less. And now they can't refi and they're stuck.
Right.
We went through that.
Right.
And I believe the government made sure that wasn't going to happen this time around.
Right.
And they did take the proper steps because I remember how easy it was for people to qualify for adjustable short-term loans.
Oh, fog a mirror, yeah.
Yeah, you didn't even need to show them your income. I mean, there was all sorts of things that made it really easy and caused people problems. So I just feel like the crash isn't coming. If you ask me, this is probably the best it's going to be for buyers to buy is right now, especially on the luxury market, because sellers are not getting necessarily full asking price. They are having to concede. Buyers can negotiate terms and price, and they're in a more powerful position than they've been in probably 4 or 5 years. So I actually think now is a really good time where you don't have to compete with other buyers per se, and you can negotiate off the value. And you find sellers that have different motivations, want to sell for different reasons, and you can make deals. I just had a deal that closed. We got an offer from the seller, or we got an offer from a buyer, pardon me. The seller made one counter. The buyer moved up a little, and the seller just said, I'll take it. And I said, wait, don't you want to counter again and try to get another couple $100,000? I know I could do it for you.
Yeah.
And he said, Eric, I'm fine with it, actually.
And the appreciation has gone up so much that they're probably like, I don't want to be greedy.
That's exactly what he says. He's like, I don't want to be greedy. I just want to sell it. I want this person to be happy, and I'm fine with it. And it was $600,000 less than our ask price. And I probably could have got him another 200 or 300. And he just it's okay. And at the end of the day, I'm like, man, that buyer got a really good buy.
Yeah.
And it just was the right seller and the right buyer. And that's the market.
Yeah.
A lot more of that is happening.
It's a more sane market. I remember when people were buying houses sight unseen, up in Montana or up in Utah, you would buy something sight unseen, like a second home or like an investment property. And now people actually have a little bit more time. You had to buy it sight unseen because if you didn't,
Someone else is buying it.
Someone else is buying it like that.
Right.
You'd get crazy amount of offers, like all within like days of it going on the market, if not hours, right? So like now you got a little more time. Are you seeing what's like the average time to sell, you think now?
So what's really interesting about the market right now is that kind of our average priced homes, and I'm just going to say, call it 1 to 3 mil. Okay?
Yeah, San Diego's pretty pricey.
It's a high average.
You're right.
But in North County, where we live close to the beach, you're going to see 2 and 3. It's like 2 and up everything, right?
Yep.
They're actually selling, if you even price it like where you're supposed to be, you're selling it within a week or two, and you still might even have 2 or 3 offers come in. They tend to sell closer to full ask. Mm-hmm. We're not having people run these things up 300,000 over asking anymore.
Sure.
Okay. But you still can get good terms, maybe shorter escrows, and you're getting close to your number. As we start creeping up to 5, 7, 10, 12, 15 million, the buyer pool is significantly less at the moment. I think that the uber wealthy are hoarding cash a little more, and they're being more conservative in their purchases, and they really want to have a need if they're going to make the purchase. So that market is taking more like 60 days, 90 days.
Right.
Okay. Where the 1 to 3 is like a week to 30 days.
Because that's like almost a starter single family home in North County.
Right.
Right. I mean, you can't get anything under $1 million.
Right. And here's another thing I think is important. If you're a mortgage broker, now is the time to be making those relationships with agents.
Yep.
Because there's only a fraction of the cash buyers that there were.
Interesting.
Like a year or two ago, all my deals over 5 million were cash. Just cash.
Quick close, cash.
Yeah,
yep.
7-day escrows. Let's go.
You didn't even talk to mortgage brokers.
No. Right now, I just did a deal for 13 mil. The guy got a 7 million, 6.5. He got 50%. $6.5 million loan. Did he have to? No. But he took it because he wanted to hold on to $6.5 million.
Right. And he could pay it off if he needed to, but
pay it off.
Why not take a 6? Yeah.
Why not? He's got good income. Yeah, the payment's going to be a lot more than maybe it would have been 2 years ago, but he has the income to cover it.
Right.
And he's keeping $6.5 million in the bank. So I'm finding these luxury buyers with cash are going for loans.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, it makes sense too, because now there's actually time. Before, I think when you had the cash, you would had to make a full cash offer.
You did.
Otherwise, someone else would take the property.
Right.
So these buyers now, they're like, you know what, I can get a loan. You know, might as well. I mean, there's not like 16 offers. Like I might be one, and then there's one behind me or whatever.
Right.
So I can get a loan, and it's the better way to hold on to my cash. It is. Yeah.
And a lot of them are still writing like no appraisal contingency because they're putting 50% down.
So it doesn't matter. Yeah.
And a lot of them are saying no loan contingency, because they've already spoken to their guy, they're make good money, they have the cash in the bank. If they, worst case, they could pay the cash and get the loan after.
True.
Which a lot of people are doing.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that are buying in cash and then getting the loan right after.
Yeah.
So another thing I think is great for loan officers, you see a big deal close, call. Hey, congratulations on that closing. Like, I'm paying attention to what you're doing and you're crushing it. I super admire you. And by the way, like, I don't even know if you knew this or if you have a relationship with the buyer, but I can go 50% cash out, same rate. If it's done within 90 days of closing, it's like a purchase loan. What do you like?
Yeah. Would you introduce me to your buyer?
Yeah.
That already closed.
How do you feel about that?
You might be like, well, what have you done? Like, tell me what you've done. What's your
right
credentials, and let's meet for coffee and chat. And if I like you, then I'll give
right.
you would have no problem referring someone that you like.
Yeah. Or I call my client and say, hey, this guy called me. I don't know if you want to speak with him, but he said he can get you cash for 5%.
Yeah.
And that's better than I've been hearing. Would you want to hear from him?
Absolutely. And if that person never makes that call, they'll never get that deal.
They'll never get it.
Yep. So that's good. Any challenges you guys are facing, like your team right now at all? Or are you guys pretty solid? I mean, obviously you have a great team, but like in this market, is there any challenges that you see?
Yeah, it's just a challenging market, to be honest, at the moment. It's harder to get deals closed. Buyers are requiring more. They're being more picky on inspections. Sellers are more emotional because it's a little more challenging, and the asks are greater. So there's a lot more management that's involved. And I think that that's really the biggest challenges we're facing right now is really, one, getting the buyers and the sellers on the same page, and then being able to keep the transaction going from start to finish, because there's ups and downs and mountains we have to climb and tunnels we have to dig. I mean, it can be very complex, both on the real estate transaction and on the mortgage transaction. So being able to marry those two and have both those things go well simultaneously is can be tricky.
Yeah. Have you done anything with AI yet? Like any kind of use that for business at all? Chat
I've
GPT?
definitely explored Chat GPT. I've asked it to write different things for me. I find it very intriguing. I'm not.
That's interesting. Can Chat GPT write like a really high-end luxury listing?
It can.
And you just read it and you're like, oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
You tweak a couple things and then
it definitely
wow,
can.
so it helps.
You could say like write about a home in Del Mar that's 4,000 feet that has ocean views, a 3-car garage situated on a private lot, and then it'll create this incredible verbiage,
like a narrative about the property.
Fun things I've done with it is like, okay, do it in the form of a poem. Or do it so it rhymes. Okay. And then all of a sudden you're reading this thing and it's all rhyming and you're like, whoa, I'm kind of like, why am I stuck into this verbiage? And why does it sound so good? So
make it into a song.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
Can you imagine?
Create a song lyric about lyrics about this property. So we've really thought, been creative with it.
That's cool.
We haven't necessarily implemented too much of what we've experimented with, but we're really in the infantry stages and in infancy stages and trying to like understand how it's going to work for us.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of people that are using it to answer questions from people who are searching online and provide results on things. And we just haven't figured out how that totally applies to us just yet.
Yeah. It's an interesting time we're in, right? Like just
sure is.
The technology, it's starting to move quick and quicker and quicker. So what about self-employed borrowers? Do you see a lot of those?
A lot of self-employed borrowers.
Yeah. And I would figure that being in the higher end.
Yeah. And their tax returns are infinitely more complex.
Right.
And I find it's even more important to make sure that they're aligned with the proper loan officer, because not everyone understands how to navigate the transactions, the tax returns, the bank's requests.
Yeah.
And having someone that's seasoned is important on those types of deals.
Mm-hmm. And I think, with the unfortunate demise of some of these banks like First Republic, they really got it on self-employed borrowers. I'm sure you've dealt with some people at First Republic in the past with some of your buyers, but I mean, what do you think, where are people going to nowadays? Mortgage brokers, or is there other banks that that are doing these big jumbo loans?
I find it for the super luxury buyers, it's a mix between mortgage brokers and their financial teams. So they still
like a Schwab financial team or something.
But they're leveraging their portfolios less because they're fluctuating more.
Right. And
they
could have
for a while they just just give me the money at 2% and I'll pay it back, and it's leveraged on my stocks, which is exploding.
Sure.
It was a really easy deal for a while.
Yeah.
There's still people that are doing that because they're sophisticated buyers that'll say, oh, I can get that money for 3% instead of 5%.
Sure.
And my stock account's massive and it's all fine.
Right.
The leverage points are very low. So there's still people that will do that. But in general, I'm finding they're looking at 30-year fixed loans or 10-year fixed, and they're taking a little bit of a longer approach with their banking right now.
And I'm sure those people that do those leverage loans, the margin loans, right, have a mortgage broker that they could work with. It's a non-depository mortgage company. So where they can say like, okay, that margin loan should get paid back. We're going to have to, get that back. Yeah. So, because ultimately they don't want that margin loan to be called, and then they lose that right? That money that they manage. So what do you think would be a good approach for a mortgage broker to try to go work with someone like that, like a family office or like somebody like that? What do you think would be a good approach?
I think that helping the managers understand the options.
Yep.
Being smart about it, so you can say, look, if you unleverage them from this margin call account,
yep,
and put them into a 30-year fix, yeah, it's going to be at a higher rate, but once you're there, you open up your accounts again, and all the things that you do well as a manager of their finances, you'll have access to do. And so it could be mutually beneficial. Yep. And I think you figure out how what you provide can benefit those financial managers.
Yeah.
And figure out how that makes their business better, how they're going to make more money by opening up their chains of ability to invest their clients' money in different ways. And they might be able to sell it to the client. Hey, I think it's time to take your money out of here. Let's do something a little more fixed. And then with this money over here, we're going to be able to get this working for you. And I've got all these things that I'm working on.
Absolutely. And then you just make it easy for them, right? And then you don't even have to go find that borrower. They're going to actually refer you that business. Right. And it's, cool. Well, I think we've ran out of time, but awesome. Any shout outs? Anyone that's helped you along the way that you want to shout out to?
So I would say that I'd like to give a couple shout outs. The first is the manager that I had that really got me into luxury real estate. And her name is Orva Harwood.
Cool.
And she was an amazing mentor to me and really helped me get my foot in the door in luxury real estate and understand how to provide a high level of service to my clients. And so I owe her a debt of gratitude.
That's cool.
And then I also would like to say, give a shout out to another gentleman. He actually brought Sotheby's to San Diego. His name was Steve Games, and he was the owner of Sotheby's at the time. He believed in me. He invested time in me. He gave me a lot of knowledge and helped me navigate some complex situations. And that turned me really into the agent I am today. So I want to thank him for that. That's really, cool. Really a blessing to have had time with him. And then my staff. I have an assistant that's been with me over 7 years who is absolutely my right arm. She runs the show. She makes sure everything runs smoothly. She keeps me in check. She basically runs my life, my work life.
That's cool.
And I just love her for it. And I'm so grateful to have her as my work partner. And her name's Pilar Meza. So cool. I want to thank Pilar. And then my marketing director, who keeps the ball rolling in the office, make sure that we're doing everything we say we're going to do for our clients, providing the clients all the results so that they know that we're doing what we're saying we're doing. Her name's Nicole Binney, and she just crushes it for me. So my two staff members, Pilar and Nicole, thank you so much for everything you do.
Awesome. Yeah, we can't be where we are today without our help, right? And just people that are at our side and just fighting the fight with us. So that's cool.
It's super important.
That's very cool.
So thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, if you're listening still to this long podcast, please comment, please like, and please send these to your friends, forward them. That's how we grow. And thanks for listening. We'll see you on the next podcast.
Have a good one.
Awesome. Sweet. That was good, man.
Thank you.
Rocked it.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, that was awesome. What'd you think of the tequila?
So good.
It's so good.
The $1 Million Mortgage Experience Podcast.